Hey, welcome back. I'm Freddie Aiken to the Barbershop Male Mentoring Initiative podcast, and we are honored to have a very familiar guest and an impactful guest here today for this session. But as always, I love to open up with a monologue, and I was doing some thinking about this guest and particularly what we are trying to do here. And there's a word that came to my mind, and that word is influence. And influence is something that often is very used. Someone who's influential, or you have influence in the thing. But as me, as an educator, I always like to look at the impactful words of something. And when you look at influence, there's a root word in there, and it's called flu. We often look at that as influenza, but flu is something that is airborne. It's something that is contagious. And when I think of influence, I think of the stickiness of how you can be contagious, not just sharing yourself with others, but others having an idea of who you are and they share themselves with others. It's creating a wave. And today's guest is influential across the United States of America. And that's none other than the one and only Kara Henry. Thank you so much for coming to the Barbershop.
Brother Fred, Reverend Fred,
You
Bishop
like
Fred, I just love it. I'm so
Uh,
happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
You know what? I'm honored to have you here. Let me tell you something.
This is incredible. I'm just like,
Thank
I
you.
am floored. It's
Yes.
amazing. God is so good.
You know what? This space came about because of a vision. You know, I was joking once upon a time. I told someone, I didn't know that cutting hair in college and messing up people's hairline would lead me to have an own barbershop in a school.
I love it. I love it.
And it started just to have something to do. And
Fail forward. And mess them hairlines up and
that's
fail
the word
forward.
right there, fail forward. Okay, listen, so there's so much. I've been preparing for this interview.
Yes.
There's so much I want to talk about.
Let's get
but
to it.
I just got to start with this.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the first chief, I'm going to mess up this title, Equity, Diversity, Opportunity Officer in the state of Indiana?
Yes.
How does that feel? I mean, I'm
it's
sure that was
awesome.
monumental, but
Yeah.
talk to us about that real quick.
No, for sure. So it's Chief Equity, Inclusion, and Opportunity Officer for the state of Indiana, Governor Holcomb's administration, and it's been fantastic. It really has been. It has not been without challenge,
Yeah.
right? Anytime you're the first and you're trying to blaze a trail to open up opportunity, it's gonna come with some burns when you're blazing trails, right?
Yeah.
It's gonna come with a couple of scrapes and bruises when you're trying to shatter glass ceilings, but it's been an honor of a lifetime. And I'm just so thrilled that I've been able to work alongside Governor Holcomb and his team just to really look at how we can expand opportunity, inclusion, equity, civility across our state. And in 3.5 years, we accomplished a lot. But me being who I am, there's like 100 more things I wanted to get done before the administration ran out. Just that time was not on our side, right? That's how political administrations are. But it's been a true honor. I just feel like I'm really honored that God chose me for this opportunity during this season of my life.
I like that. You said civility.
Yes.
And you mentioned God. You know, prior to, because people going to Google you. But they already know you, but they going to try to get to this. You know what I'm saying?
Be careful.
I know that's right. Well, listen, I'm so impressed by you. I tell you, I want our audience to understand, where did you come from? Like all of a sudden, you came to Indianapolis, like, who is this person?
I got that question a lot.
I know.
Who are you? Where do you come from? How
I'm
you get
telling
this
you,
job?
but talk about your time and your upbringing, because this is all about mentorship. Like this room existed because the power of mentor, the power of people telling stories, sharing this podcast, is recording, kind of like a scribe, so to speak. But talk about a little bit of your upbringing in the beautiful city of South Bend.
Yes, good old South Bend,
Talk a little bit
Indiana.
about your mom and dad.
Absolutely.
So the audience can know who that is.
Absolutely. So I was born and raised in South Bend, Indiana. Bishop Eddie and Diana Miller. My dad is from Jackson, Mississippi. Grew up on a cotton field down there in the 40s. My mother's from Michigan. My dad's family moved up to Michigan, Buchanan, Michigan, when they were younger, and that's where they met. And just a beautiful story about how they came together. Obviously, God was working even in that, right, to prepare them for the ministry and the way that they've been serving South Bend. And so my parents founded Faith Apostolic Temple before I was born, right? And it's in South Bend, Indiana. They've been in ministry for 48 years. They've been married for 51. And so I grew up in ministry. My older brother, not the oldest, but my older brother, Pastor YPJ, is our senior pastor now. And so we grew up in a household where perfection wasn't expected, but there was an expectation that we understood that to whom much is given, much is required. And so my parents really instilled in us the thought of service to others at a young age, the thought that your life is bigger than your own selfish wants and desires. Like you can have wants and desires and goals, but ultimately, what is the plan and purpose that God has for you? And what are you supposed to be walking out while you're on this earth, right? So that was instilled in me from the time I was a little girl. And that's just how I've shown up. Now, did I always get it right? Absolutely not. I had my heathen years, as some of us do.
Yeah,
right?
Grace kept us.
Grace kept us, but for grace, there go I. But I'm so grateful for that upbringing because every step of my journey has truly been ordained. So grew up in South Bend, went to public schools, love Clay High School. Shout out Clay High School. Love that school. My siblings went there too. Then went on to Purdue University for my undergraduate degree. Started off as pre-med, ended up changing over to poli-sci and communications, ended up getting a public relations degree, minor in political science, and then went to law school. Went to Valparaiso University School of Law in Valparaiso, Indiana. And right after that, I had planned to go study for the bar, go practice criminal law, potentially family law. And while I was studying for the bar, I was contacted by someone at Notre Dame about a position there.
Okay.
I'm like, all right, this South Bend, I'm home, I'm studying for the bar, let me look into it. Thought I would be there maybe for 6 months just to get the bar done, all that. Ended up working there for nearly a decade of my career. Got advanced through leadership quickly. Again, all of this is God lining my steps were ordered. I didn't even know it.
Absolutely.
And all of the work I did at Notre Dame around equity and inclusion, around public relations, strategic relationship building, all things that I didn't know I was going to need to work in state government, a position I wasn't even looking for, but was called about. And that's how I got here. I had done a meeting. I don't know if you know Mayor Pete Buttigieg. He's now on the cabinet for President Biden, but he was our mayor in South Bend. And I was in a meeting with him and his fire chief. And we were talking about how can we get more people of color into fire and safety, EMTs, all that stuff. That meeting probably lasted all of 55 minutes. It was back in 2015, 16, somewhere around there. And I left an impression on the guy that was in the meeting with the mayor, who ended up being a member of Governor Holcomb's cabinet.
Wow.
And because of that 55-minute meeting and me leaving an impression in that room, the governor starts talking about this initiative where he wanted to expand inclusion and opportunity and civility. He was really disturbed by the murder of George Floyd. He wanted to figure out how is our Black community experiencing Indiana? We need to do something. And it was in that meeting that that gentleman, Steve Cox, said, there's a woman I know from South Bend. You need to talk to her. They called me and I said, absolutely not. I am not interested. I just knew that was going to be a yes.
Absolutely
not. Wow. I do not want to do that. I was like, no, I don't think that's for me. I said, but I'll have the conversation with you guys. I was in public relations at Notre Dame my last 3.5 years. I was building strategic partnerships, looking at our charitable contributions. I was really focused on the community. I said, I'm not a diversity expert. I'm a lawyer by training. That's not what I do. But they convinced me to go through the process. And it was the moment I sat down with Governor Holcomb and I heard his heart for Indiana. He just wants to serve people in a great way. And he wants to serve people in an intentional way. And because of that conversation, we started talking about our values and family and all the different things. And I said, you know what? I was built for this. God was structuring everything I've done from Clay to Purdue to Valpo to Notre Dame, everything that I've done in ministry to prepare me for this moment. And so I prayed about it, obviously. I talked to my mentors and my guidance, my counselors, the people I have around me, my parents, my brother, Pastor YPJ, my husband. And it was unanimous. This is what God has called you into at this season. So that's how I got here. That's how I ended up in Indianapolis.
That's powerful.
Yeah.
Man, okay, so I can go a lot of places with this, but this is really great. You mentioned in your story how just a conversation that you had with the mayor and the fire chief, how that later led in an opportunity for you to work with the governor.
That's right.
I think sometimes in what we do as a professional, you're a young professional, you're a mother, you're a wife, you have these intentional collisions that sometimes you don't know what will come from them.
For sure.
Right? But what I appreciate about what you said and what I'm trying to hopefully relay in this podcast is that we have to bring civility back.
Yeah.
It's the times where we have to just take time to get to know people.
That's right.
Right? Whether it's coffee, whether it's networking. I know that kind of has a sticky word to it. But how much of you just being who you are, people, conversations. In fact, I met you first through your dad.
Yep.
We
That's
were
right.
both, shout out,
40
shout
under
out to
40.
us. 40 under 40, the
IBJ,
best IBJ class there was. 2020?
Yes.
1?
2021, I think. Look,
Yeah, I was 37 and a half. I'm now 40.
somewhere around there.
Yeah, 40.
Amber Finley, shout out. She was
Amber
with us.
Finley,
Hey.
right, we had the best IBJ class. And you felt you couldn't go wrong with us. You see what's happening.
No.
You
See it.
So I met you because we up there taking pictures with our plaques. And your dad comes up to me.
Like grabs you and like hugs you.
Me. And I said, who is this sainted man? And he said something to me. I said, man, who are you? He said, I'm Pastor such and such. And I said, and then he told me who your daughter was. I said, that's your daughter?
Yep.
I met you
because
your dad took time just to touch me.
Yep.
So how much have that intentional collision, how much has that been a part of your journey? What advice can you give to others about making time for people you don't know?
Yeah, it's been a huge part of my journey. I tell people this all the time. The last 3 jobs that I've had, and then you can skip a couple and go back to the first one I had in Notre Dame. I didn't apply to these jobs. These were from conversations, relationship building, being civil in the moment, being present in the moment in a meeting, showing up as my best self in every meeting that I've had. It's been those moments that have led to opportunities for me. Like I didn't apply for this job with the governor. Of course, I gave them all of my information once they called me, but they called and asked me if I was interested. Just like the director of public affairs role at Notre Dame, that position didn't even exist when I got that position. It was a conversation with a VP and then another VP, and I had done some really great work that stuck out. And so when it came time for a new opportunity, I kind of asked for what I wanted. And because I knew that I'd proven myself to be somebody that they could trust, who was going to get the work done through civil conversations, through hard work. And so I tell people all the time, especially young people, you never know, the most it could seem like the most like meaningless interaction.
Yes.
It can leave an impression with someone that could lead you into an opportunity that could change the very trajectory of your career, right? And so it's critical that we're mindful of how we're showing up in spaces.
Absolutely.
Like every time.
Every time.
We don't get it right all the time,
No.
but we have to really be intentional and be mindful of how we show up.
Show up. In the time that we in, the political climate, unfortunately you see that political affiliation is now trumping individuals and who they are.
For sure. This is disappointing.
It is, right? You have the red versus the blue. You have people there, you have people there. How have you navigated that space and still stayed true to humanity?
It's really interesting to see politicians, and that's across the spectrum, right? Who you admire, you respect, and then you see some who it's party over people, right? Because I believe that when you decide to become a politician, that the focus should absolutely be the people.
That's good.
That's why you should do it. But now there's a focus on the party over the interests of the people. And the way that I've approached this, because I don't really consider myself a politician because I was appointed, but the truth of the matter is I'm in politics. I've been in it for almost 4 years now. I believe that authenticity is not about what I wear or how I wear my hair, if I got natural hair or so on. Authenticity for me is about being rooted and grounded in my values, in my moral system, in my belief system, and staying true to that. Regardless of how I feel, I have deep personal convictions that drive the way I show up, right? I'm in meetings sometimes that are in complete contradiction to those deep personal convictions. But I hold true to that, and I'm still able to show up as my most authentic self because I lean into those values. Now, emotional intelligence requires that I adjust my messaging, that I change maybe what I'm going to wear that day, that I pivot. That's the emotional intelligence side. But when you have those values, those morals that you're rooted and grounded in, even in the most difficult meetings where things come at you that are completely contrary to that value system, if you're rooted in those things, you won't lose yourself. You just learn how to adjust and pivot in the moment so that you can be most effective in any room you walk into.
That's good. That's really good.
And that's what I've had to lean into with politics,
Absolutely.
because it's crazy in that
crazy.
state house sometimes.
It can be crazy, but I appreciate what you said. The craziness should not scare you, but it should be an invitation, because you have to still be present in that because of the calling and the representation of the community that we have to serve.
Yeah, and if you don't know who you are, if you're not rooted and grounded in something like your faith or a moral compass or something, it is so easy to get lost in that. I see good people come into politics and they really do want to do good things, but the power, it can become addictive, and then it starts to transform the way they're showing up. And it's because, what were you rooted and grounded in? What was the intention originally? And so I think the more you can lean into that, and I tell young people all the time, if you haven't written out your values, your moral compass, what's important to you.
Oh, this is good.
You really need to do that. Write it down so that you know what that is. Study that. Be mindful of that so that you don't get swayed in any environment that you go into.
That's
it's
wisdom.
critical.
That's wisdom. That's real good. Okay. Okay. So speaking of writing, how often are you? Well, let me frame it this way. You're a busy person. You have multiple hats. Multiple things you're doing simultaneously, if I don't say so. It's very much interesting.
You do the same thing.
I do.
You know how it goes.
And this is a selfish question for me, so I'm about to, sorry, this is for me. What do you do to take care of you?
Yeah.
What is your self-care routine?
Yeah, so there's a couple things. Like, first and foremost, I am the most peaceful when I'm with my family. That is like critical for me. Like just being with my son, Bryce, who's 3, about to be 4, my husband, our 2 older teenagers. Well, my oldest is now 20. He's in college in Philadelphia. But spending time with them is critical for me. I just started about 6 months ago, Reformer Pilates. I love it. Like it is just really helping me mentally. It's helping me physically, get my agility back. And then finally, and the most important is, I do not miss worship service on Sunday. Like every weekend, I am trying to get back to South Bend, regardless of what I'm doing, so that I can be in Sunday morning worship, because that is like when your car runs out of gas, you go to the gas station, you put that little pump in there to fill it back up. Sunday is my stop at the gas station. That I'm getting filled back up every Sunday from the word that I'm getting, and that's critical for me. I don't miss church if I can help it.
That's powerful, and thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'll tell you why I asked, not only for me, but I think many of us are so focused in the world of corporate and community and life. We can be so focused on a task, on an ideal, that we'll sometimes go so hard after that we'll lose ourselves. I heard you mention that. You can lose yourself in it. So thank you for mentioning write stuff down about what you are.
Write stuff down.
And to take care of yourself and find value in what those things are.
You do. You got to do that. And it was a journey for me to get there. I would say the first couple years with the administration, I was just so focused on trying to get things done, the strategic plan, getting out in the community, meeting people, making sure I'm doing the things the governor and his senior staff had asked me to do. I didn't feel well. I wasn't healthy because I wasn't taking that time. And it was about 2.5 years in, I'm like, I got to figure this out. I got to start working out again. I got to start eating better. I got to sleep better. And I had to take that intentional step for my own health and my own mental health as well. So it's not a selfish thing. You just got to do it.
That's right.
You got to do it. If you're no good to know anyone, if you are just a hot mess, right?
Yeah, I heard somebody use an analogy. There's 2 cups, right? There's a cup here and there's a cup here. The person that is pouring out the most and never had poured in, you just be a cup with nothing in it.
Cup with nothing.
Right. I don't want to be a cup with nothing.
Me either.
If I was preaching, I'd say, turn to your neighbor and say, neighbor, don't be a cup with nothing. That's a little cultural church preaching for you.
A little Pentecostal upbringing, you know what I'm saying?
We can't help it.
Can't help it. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord.
Okay, so I want to ask you a couple of fun questions.
Yeah, let's do it.
We just got done talking about health.
Yes.
But I know you can cook.
I love cooking. That's one of my favorite things to do for my family.
And I'm going to ask questions either or. Just got to give a little bit of things out there about which one you provide. Okay. So let's start with sweets.
Okay. All right.
You can bake.
I can a little bit.
Yes, you can bake a little bit. Okay, so if you were to choose a dessert, say it's Thanksgiving. You know, I feel like Thanksgiving is the best holiday for food.
Yes.
Okay, which dessert is your go-to?
That I'm making or eating?
Ooh. Let's talk about eating, then we're going to go to making.
Okay.
Are you going to go with sweet potato pie or peach cobbler?
Peach cobbler.
Why?
I love anything that has like baked fruit. Okay. Like I love fruit. Okay. Yeah, I'm big on that. Now if I'm making it,
if you make it, what you?
Everyone loves my banana split dessert. It is an incredible recipe that came from my grandma Lucy.
Oh,
it's phenomenal.
Is that a Lucy from Daddy's side?
Lucy from Mama's side.
Mama's side. Okay,
yes,
okay. You know them folks in Mississippi. You know they.
No, she didn't give me some recipes too. Now don't play. Right. That's Wilhelmina. Okay. That's Wilhelmina.
Okay. Good. Okay, talking about food. Okay, so.
Yes.
Oh, that's good. Okay.
Yeah, I'm going with the peach cobbler.
Okay, well, peach cobbler. Okay, here we go. You love singing.
I do. Okay. Actually, just sang the national anthem for Nate Feltman and some people that tricked me into it a week ago.
Really? Is that at Mickey's camp?
Yeah.
Come on, Mickey's Camp Singing.
Somebody recorded it. I'm trying to figure out who has that video because I only did that for Nate.
I heard about that because Dave was like, I like Kara. Oh, wait, do you want to sing a little something?
No, I do not.
Okay, I just figured we talk about it. Okay, so if you're talking about singing, my wife and I had this day because my wife sings.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so Whitney Houston, talking about Star Spangled Banner.
Okay.
Whitney Houston or Mariah Carey?
Yeah, Whitney Houston. She's the best rendition of all time. The
Okay.
best rendition of all time.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Okay. Okay. Now we talk about sports because you like sports.
Oh my gosh.
Are you football, basketball?
Football.
Okay.
Football.
College or professional?
Both, but I will tell you this: the college ranks. We got to figure all this NIL, this conference stuff. The Pac-12 is now the Pac-2. We got to get all this figured out.
I know.
But yes,
I know. And
both.
we're gonna have a session because the NIL is just really crazy.
Yeah, it's wild, but it's intriguing. And
As
a lawyer, I'm really intrigued by all of this. I'm waiting on this whole revenue sharing announcement that's going to happen with this litigation. But yes, both college and NFL.
So let's do with football. Who had, in your opinion, who is the best dynasty? College football.
College football.
I'm gonna give you 3 options.
Okay.
Roll Tide, Alabama.
I already knew that was gonna be one of the.
They gotta be one of them.
It's gotta be one. Nick Saban is a beast.
Yeah. Ohio State, they got history.
Okay.
Or Notre Dame, because you're from South Bend.
Yeah, I'm never gonna pick Notre Dame as the best in anything. I didn't go to Notre Dame. My husband did. I am a Boilermaker. God bless you, Notre Dame. I'm a Boilermaker. The only college and university in Indiana that I recognize. No, I'm just joking. I'm gonna have to go with Nick Saban because honestly, even when he was at LSU, the man is just great. There's just greatness that follows him. He is a coach, and I've heard he's not an easy person to play for or to work with.
Right.
But when you're the best and you're pumping out the best, you got this is
you have to have these. You
got standards. You got to hit the standard.
Standards matter.
Yes.
Standards matter.
Raise up a standard.
Raise up a
Come on.
standard.
Again, this is the churchiness in it.
We can't help it.
We can't help it.
Watching it and be like, what are they
talking about?
If you Google it, they'll take you to the word. Okay.
Yes, praise God.
Oh wow. Okay. So this is good. Now, what's next for you? Where can our audience say, I like her, what can I do to support, what can I do to be involved? You speak well. Are you speaking at any conferences? Are there any initiatives? Like, what is in that next chapter for you?
I'm praying about it right now.
That's good.
I've had some things presented to me, and I prayed, and God was just like, "That's not it. Sit tight." And I can tell you that is not without frustration, because I had planned to be gone from the administration at this point. We're almost at election season, so election season's in November. Young people, learn your civic engagement, learn who your council people are, who's on the school board. You need to learn who your governor is, and the senators and the representatives in your districts. But that's almost here. And so I had planned to be gone already. And I have turned down a couple things. And I'm like, okay, God, I've turned these things down.
Yeah.
I'm waiting. But what I've told people is that whatever I decide to do next, for me, it's critical that it's some type of role where I'm having an impact and I can influence populations to live a better life, to live a healthier life, to live a more focused life, to pull themselves out of poverty. Everything that I've done, whether it's been in higher education, this work, even the things I do with our ministry, has been focused on helping people that don't often have access to all the tools that they need. And so whatever I do next, it has to be in that same vein. It could be in entertainment, it could be in sports, but there has to be some connection to helping enrich the lives of those who don't always have access to everything that they need. So we'll see. But I am speaking all over the place right now. I'm speaking in Spencer Owen County. They have this big chamber event. I'm speaking at that in a couple weeks, and then I'm speaking at Notre Dame's law school. Yeah. Shout out to Notre Dame. I love you, Notre Dame. They've asked me to come in and speak to the 1Ls,
okay,
as they're starting, and I have some other speaking engagements coming up, so I'll be all over the place. But if you really want to get in touch with me, the best way, because I don't know when when I'll leave the administration, if you go to Lucy, my grandmother, that's her first name, Lucy Mina, my other grandmother, Wilhelmina, so it's Lucy and Mina combined, consulting.com.
Okay.
That's how you can keep up with me, because that's where all of my stuff's going to be.
You know what, and I'm saying that to say, I'll tell you why I said that. I've been in a place to hear you speak, and not too many people that can not only come in the audience, but you can feel life coming from them.
Oh, thank you, Fred.
And that's one of the things
that
I think many opportunities are missed when you go after a name and not the life.
Yeah.
And if I can share this platform and encourage anyone, you have any event, keynote, even if you are just you're emceeing an event. I mean, this brings life.
So
I'm thankful for what you have and thankful for the life that you have. And thanks for being a part of the Barbershop Male Mentor Initiative podcast.
Thank you for inviting me.
Come
I feel
on.
so honored.
Hey, come on back. Now, listen.
I will come back.
I want you to bring your brother back.
I will, Pastor YPJ. I'll try to convince him to get down here. You know, his calendar is wild. I'm like, bruh, you know. But.
Tell him for him, we will make special arrangements for Saturday. Or if it's Saturday morning, because I know he got to preach on Sunday. But I would love for him to come down.
Yeah, that would be awesome. We're going to make it work.
That's
who we really need to bring him, both of them together would be awesome.
Here,
Bishop would love to do this. That would be awesome.
I appreciate it. But thank you so much
Thank you for having me. This is awesome.
All right.
I love you so much, Fred.
Man, listen, we wouldn't be here without it. Y'all, the one and only Care here. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come back for more because we have more coming after this. God bless.